Hi, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com. Today we're going to make chocolate yogurt muffins, and this is what they look like. These muffins are wonderfully soft and moist with a dense texture, and the chocolate flavor not only comes from unsweetened cocoa powder, but we're also going to add lots of chocolate chips. So the first thing that you will need to do is to preheat your oven to 350 degrees Fahrenheit, which is 180 degrees Celsius. And then you will need a 12-cup muffin cupcake pan, whichever you want to call it. And I've lined mine with paper liners. If you don't want to do that, what you could do is just spray the muffin cups with one of those nonstick sprays, or you could even butter the inside. So, really easy to make. I'm not going to pull out the mixer. I mean, you could, but I just prefer to do it by hand. We need a bowl for the wet, bowl for the dry, mix it together, and we're done. So I'm going to start with the wet ingredients. So in a bowl, I have 2 large eggs. Have your eggs at room temperature, and 2 large eggs out of the shell is about 100 grams, thereabouts. I don't know whether they weigh every egg, so it's exactly 50 grams each, but thereabouts. And I'm just using a wire whisk. You could use like a fork just to break them up. And then, of course, they're yogurt muffins, so we will need 1 cup, 240 milliliters, 240 grams. I'm using a whole milk plain yogurt. Actually, I'm using the, at least in the States, what we call a Greek style. It's very thick. I like it, nice and tangy. Makes our muffins nice and moist and soft. Adds a little bit of tang. It's wonderful. And it kind of makes us feel, oh, we're eating healthy muffins. We'll forget about the sugar in that, but you know, the fat, but hey, they're good. And I'm just going to whisk that in, along with 1½ teaspoons, 6 grams of pure vanilla extract. The vanilla is for flavoring. I do like a little vanilla flavor in my chocolate muffins. I mean, you could leave it out. Just whisk that in. And then we're going to add 1/2 cup, 120 milliliters, 120 grams of, I'm using a flavorless oil. By that I mean corn, canola, vegetable, safflower. You could probably use even a light olive oil. I like, you know, especially in this muffin, the liquid fat as opposed to, say, melted butter, because it makes the muffins nice and soft and moist. Plus, I do, because there's yogurt in these muffins, I do like to store them in the refrigerator. And if you use a liquid fat, you know, butter kind of, when it's put in the refrigerator, gets nice and firm, where oil doesn't. So it keeps the muffins nice and soft, so I can eat them right out of the fridge. I know people are going to ask, could I use butter? Yes, you could. You could use 1/2 cup, 113 grams of melted butter. Melt it and then cool it down to room temperature. But try it with the oil. So, and then I'm going to whisk in 1 cup, 200 grams of granulated white sugar. Mine isn't white, it's kind of a natural color because I'm using an organic cane sugar. So you could use that, or you could use the granulated white, same thing. Whisk that in. And that's our wet ingredients. Okay, so now for our dry. In a separate bowl, I have 1½ cups, which is 195 grams of all-purpose flour, plain flour. And to that, I'm going to add 1/2 cup, 50 grams of unsweetened cocoa powder. Now, I tested this both with the natural unsweetened and the today I'm using the Dutch process, but when I was testing the recipe, I made a batch with both of them, and I like them both. So I'm going to tell you, just use what you like, use what you have in the house. They're both really good. And I'm adding 1 teaspoon, 4 grams of baking powder, if I can get it out. And a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of baking soda. And a half a teaspoon, 2 grams of a fine kosher salt. If you were using like a regular table salt, I'd probably use 1/4 of a teaspoon, 1 gram. I find the table salt, I don't know, to me anyways, to my taste buds, it's more salty, so I would cut back a little. And then chocolate chips. I'm adding 1 cup, 170 grams of chocolate chips. Now, I'm using the bittersweet. I like bittersweet. You could use semi-sweet. You could use milk. You could use white chocolate chips. Sometimes I even use like a combination. If you don't want to use chocolate chips, then you could just leave them out and just have, you know, the plain chocolate. Or you could even add 1 cup, 100 grams of chopped nuts. Maybe you'd like that. Or maybe you'd like a little, like some dried cranberries or cherries, you know. You can mix it up. So I'm just going to add. See, pretty simple. You have a chocolate craving, make a batch of these, and I would say, you know, within a half hour, you can be eating one. Let's mix that in. I'm using, you could use your whisk to mix, but I'm using my spatula. The important thing when you're doing any like this kind of batter or any batter like this is just mix until everything's, the flour mixture is all moistened, and then stop. Don't keep mixing, because then that can cause the muffins to be a little tough. So just make sure you kind of fold over, especially the center. Make sure we get all that. And on the bottom, looks like I got all that. Okay. So now we're going to, let's put that right there. Move all this. Now we're going to fill our muffin cups with, try to get an even amount of batter in each muffin cup so they all bake at the same amount of time. I'm using just one of these ice cream cookie scoops, whatever you want to call it. You could just use a couple spoons. And these are going to, you know, your muffin cup's going to be pretty full. Because they rise, but not that much. Okay, my last one. Sometimes if you're not, put the scoop exactly, and you could just use, you know, back of a spoon to trying to even it out a bit. So, here we go. So now to bake. I'm going to say between, say, 22 and 25 minutes. Everyone's oven is a little different, so the time can be, you know, a little different for you than me. They will rise. The top of the muffins you'll get cracks, so that is perfectly normal. And, you know, a toothpick inserted into the center, I like to come out, it can come out totally clean, but I like mine nice and moist, my muffins. So I like, when I take my toothpick out, there's like just a bit of batter, like a few little bits of batter still clinging to it. And I do like to rotate my pan front to back halfway through baking, just to make sure you get a real even bake. So I'm going to say between 22 and 25 minutes. So our chocolate yogurt muffins are done. So put your pan on a wire rack. As you can see, they rose a bit. There is cracks, perfectly normal. And when I put a toothpick into the center, there was just like a few moist crumbs clinging to it. So now what I'm going to do is let them cool, maybe 5 minutes in the pan, and then I will use my offset spatula, transfer them over to a wire rack to finish cooling, and then when we come back, we will try one. Okay, so let's try one. They're still a little warm. So, whoop, still soft. Oh, look at that. Chocolate chips, still kind of soft. Let's try a little bit. Really nice chocolate flavor. I like the chocolate chips too. And they're wonderfully soft and moist and dense. Muffins typically are at their best, freshly made the first day. But I do find these are really good. I like to store them in the refrigerator. And I still find the next day after that, they're still wonderfully soft and moist and dense. Chocolate flavor. Because, chocolate, I always find it takes a little time for that chocolate flavor really to come out and mellow. And so you can do that. You can also freeze them, wonderfully frozen. And if you like these muffins, you can go to joybaking.com, either our website or our YouTube channel. I do have actually another chocolate muffin recipe, besides lots of other ones, but I have a chocolate muffin recipe that's quite similar to this, but instead of yogurt, it uses buttermilk. So if you like these and want to try something a little different, you could try that. Or I have like a mocha muffin, carrot muffins, all kinds of muffins. So check it out. So you must try these. And until next time, I'm Stephanie Jaworski of joybaking.com.